Hello everyone, this is Shresh from SkyMount and today I am going to explain you about polygon and rectangle. Okay, so shortkey for polygon is POL, enter. Okay, so very first thing here it will ask you number of sides needed. Like for example, if I am going to draw a hexagon, so I will mention the number of sides as 6, enter. So next after that here it will ask you for the center of the polygon. So here wherever you need on the screen you can specify the center of the polygon. So next after that it will ask you an option whether you need the polygon inscribed or circumscribed. Okay, so inscribed in the sense the polygon will come inside the circle, and circumscribed in the sense the polygon will come outside the circle. Okay, so I'll show you both the examples. So first here I'll click on inscribed, so I'll click on I, enter. Here next I'll mention the radius of the circle, like for example I'll mention it as 20. Okay, so now to check out whether this is inscribed or no, what I am going to do is I am going to take a line here and I will draw a circle from the midpoint of this line, giving the radius as 20. Okay, so you can see here this is inscribed and this polygon is coming inside the circle and the edges of the polygon are touching the circumference of the circle. Okay, same way if I am going to take it as circumscribed. Okay, so again I will mention the number of sides as 6, I will specify the center of the polygon and I will select the option as circumscribed, so I will click on C, enter, and I will mention the radius as 20 again. So you can see if you are comparing this inscribed polygon and circumscribed polygon, you can see this polygon is quite bigger than this one. Okay, so now here again I will take a line and I will draw a circle by giving the radius as 20. Okay, so you can see here the circle is coming inside and the polygon is coming outside the circle, and the sides of the polygon are touching the circumference of the circle. Okay, so this is all about polygon. So now next here I will explain you about rectangle. So shortkey for rectangle is REC, enter. So next after I click on rectangle, so here it is asking me to specify the first corner point, or it is asking me to mention the chamfer, elevation, fillet, thickness and width. So these are all the types of rectangle. So before seeing the types of rectangle, first we will see how to create a rectangle. Okay, so here what I will do is I will specify the first corner point. So after I specify the first corner point, it is asking me to specify the other corner point. But if I will specify the other corner point, what will happen is you won't get a rectangle of correct units. Okay, so here what I am going to do is I am going to select any one method over here. Okay, so like you can select two methods are there over here. First one is area method and second one is dimension method. Okay, so here click on area method or you can click on A, enter. So next here it is asking you to specify the area of a rectangle in current units. Okay, so now just imagine if you are having a 30 by 40 site, so it will be the area of the side will be 1200. Okay, so now here what I will do is I will mention the area as 1200. I will click on enter. So next here it will ask you to calculate the rectangle dimension based on length or width. So any one I can mention over here. Why? Because I have already mentioned the area. So either one, any one I can mention either length or either the width. So what you are going to mention over here, like for example if you are going to mention the length, first you are going to activate the length, so you are going to click on L, enter. So if you are going to mention the width, you are going to click on W, enter. So I will click on length over here, so I will click on L, enter, and I will give the length as 30 and I will click on enter. So you can see here the width of the rectangle is taken automatically by itself. Okay, so you can see here this is 30, this is 40. Okay, so next after area method, next we are having next method, that is dimension method. Okay, so again here I will specify the first corner point and later I will select the method as dimension method. So you can click on this dimension or you can click on D, enter. Okay, So next it is asking you to specify the length of the rectangle directly. Okay, no need to mention length or specifically L enter, W enter. Directly here you are going to mention the length as 30 and you are going to mention the width as 40. Okay, so you can see the rectangle is created. But here what it is going to ask you is, it is asking you the position of the rectangle. So where you need it exactly. Okay, so wherever you need it, just you are going to click, the rectangle will be placed. Okay, so again you can see, I'll just measure it and I'll show you. So this is 30 and this is 40. Okay, so these are the two methods using which you will be drawing a rectangle. Okay, but now this is a normal rectangle. Just imagine if you need your rectangle at 45-degree tilt. Okay, so that time what I am going to do is, before drawing a rectangle, I am having one more option over here, that is called as rotation. So where I can create a rotated rectangle. So I'll click on R enter and I'll mention the angle of rotation as 45 and click on enter. So next again here, using area method or dimension method, you can draw a rectangle as your requirement. So you can see it is 45-degree tilt. So I'll take a line here so that so you can see here it is 45-degree tilt from this base point. Okay, so this is how you will be drawing a rotated rectangle. So now these I told you how to create a rectangle. So now let's see how to create types of rectangle. So here we are having different types of rectangle, that is chamfer, elevation, fillet, thickness and width. Okay, so chamfer, do you know what is chamfer? So chamfer is nothing but you will be getting sharp edges. Okay, so I'll show you. So now here what I'll do is, I'll go to chamfer and I'll specify the chamfer distance. Okay, so like for example I mention, if I'm drawing a 30 by 40 again, so like I'll mention the chamfer distance as somewhat around 8. Okay, and 8. So first chamfer distance, second chamfer distance I have mentioned. Now again here I'll specify the first corner point. Now you can observe here, if I am taking a rectangle, still I am getting a rectangle at 45-degree tilt. Why? Because the rotation has been set as 45-degree. Okay, so now you just imagine if you don't need at 45-degree and if you need a normal rectangle itself, then here what you are going to do, you are going to go to rotation and you are going to mention the rotation angle as 0. Okay, so later here again next here what you are going to do is, again using area method or dimension method, you can draw the rectangle as your requirement, like this. Okay, same way next after chamfer, next here you are having elevation. Okay, so next here I'll go to elevation and I'm going to mention the elevation height. Okay, so like for example I'll mention the elevation height as 50. Okay, so click on enter. So here what I'll do is, I'll go to elevation and I'll mention the elevation height as 50. Okay, so next here again I'll specify the first corner point. So now again you can see again the chamfer is also getting repeated. Okay, why? Because I did not deactivate the chamfer. Okay, so the distances remain the same. So what I do, I'll mention it as 0 and 0. Then later I'll go to elevation and I'll mention the elevation as 50. Okay, again specify the first corner point using area method or dimension method. Draw the rectangle as your requirement. Okay, so now here go to 3D, go to the left view or front view and just you can see here, this is a normal rectangle which is there at the ground plane and this is the elevated rectangle. So next over here you are having fillet. Okay, so before going to fillet, here I'll go to elevation and I'll mention the elevation as 0 again. Okay, next here go to fillet. So now you can see in chamfer you got sharp edges. Okay, in fillet you will get smooth edges. Okay, means you will get an arc instead of cut over here. Okay, so next here I'll mention the fillet radius as 5. Now again using area method or dimension method, draw the rectangle as per your requirement. Okay, So next, after fillet, here you are having thickness, but before going to thickness, I'll mention the fillet radius as 0. Go to thickness and mention the thickness of the rectangle. So like I'll give it as somewhat around 4. I'll click on enter. Again draw the rectangle using area method or dimension method as your requirement. Now here go to 3D and you can see this is thickness. Okay, so at last over here you are having width. Okay, so next here again I'll go to thickness, I'll mention it as 0. I'll go to width and I'll mention the width of the rectangle as 2. Now draw the rectangle and see, you will be getting a rectangle somewhat like this. Okay, so this is all about rectangle and polygon. Thank you. To subscribe the page, you can like the video.